Hello, friends, and welcome to the space where we discuss business, landscaping, beer, and everything in between. I'm your host, Heather Gerard from My Landscape Artist here in London, Ontario, Canada. And this is Season 2 of Hops and Hedges. Stay tuned after each episode for a message from our sponsor, ext.tech. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now crack open a cold one, and let's dig in. There we are. We are now on Hops and Hedges. With me today, it's special guest Bob Reeves from Root Rescue. Hi, Bob, and how are you?
I am deluxe. I'm really good and looking forward to our conversation.
Excellent. Me too. I just mentioned, you're from Root Rescue Environmental Products. You're in Waterdown, Ontario, Canada, right?
Have
you always been there?
Yeah, that's where we start. I mean, I started the business when I still worked for our original family firm in Woodbridge, Ontario. It's a long story. And that's when at that point, I lived elsewhere. But since this business started, we've been here, I guess, for about 11 years now. So, yeah, this is certainly where Root Rescue conducts its business and has since it went public. It took a while to get started. We did a lot of research and we had a product that needed to go through the regulators, and that took an inordinate amount of time. So we finally got to market in 2016, and we've certainly been here. This is obviously the brain trust of the corporation right here in my backyard home office.
Yeah.
So this is where we do business. All of my warehousing and packaging and materials handling is all done third party, so that happens somewhere else. We don't have bricks and mortar front end.
Great. So then you don't have to worry about sitting on inventory, because somebody else can do that. We
certainly have inventory. It's in a warehouse ready for you to buy right now if you want to. But I don't have to worry about paying for the warehouse when it's not that active.
Nice.
You know, it's a pay per use, and so that's a much more effective way for me to control costs.
That's awesome. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the product, the Root Rescue, that you put right in the hole when you're planting stuff. So for those who are tuning in and aren't familiar with Root Rescue, the transplanter, can you kind of give us a lowdown as to what your product is?
Sure, absolutely. It is fungus. I sell fungus for a living, which is rather bizarre.
It's a great job description. What do you do for a living? I sell fungus.
Immediately people go, what? And, and I've got them at that point. Then I simply have to elaborate a little bit. Yeah. So the kind of fungi that is in our product is the sort that associates with the roots of plants and helps them find water and nutrients in soil, which is absolutely what's going on out in nature. That's what's happening in a forest. That's why the forest and it has the durability it has and the adaptability to change and problems. And nobody's out there watering or fertilizing. And things look pretty damn good to me out there in the woods. And a lot of that success has to do with the symbiosis between plant roots and these specialized fungi that deliver services to them. And the fungi do this work because they're paid in sugar and glucose from photosynthesis. So the plant has got this extra sugar. It says, okay, you down there, let's make a deal. I need the following things done. Can you do it? Yep. And so they take the sugar meal and go out into the soil and bring back all the goodies the plants need. So, in a disturbed ecosystem, think your backyard and mine, or the roadside, or take a picture of any place where there's recently been construction. Those systems are dismantled, they're broken. And so when you put a plant in, it's looking for those fungi. It's saying, well, okay, I need these helpers the way I always have. Where are they? Well, they're in this box. So at the end of the day, that's what this is.
Very cool. And so is it like spores? Like is it a living
spores.
Product?
That's right. It's the dormant stage of those organisms sitting in that box, dry and in the dark, sealed up nice and tight, waiting for you to add water and stir. And then essentially things wake up and get cooking. And so that once begun, this is a living organism sleeping in the box. Once it's alive and on the roots, the plant will then nurture it, and it nurtures the plant, and they will persist together thereafter. So it's a kind of a weird technology to sell, because unlike fertilizer, which needs constant reapplication because it's there and gone and there and gone and there and gone, my guys are constantly there thereafter. So it's a permanent friendship that's created between the two organisms. And so as long as you don't disturb it, dig it up, fertilize with chemical fertilizers and kill them off, as long as you don't do some things that are very simple to understand what you shouldn't do, then they'll be partners for life, and you'll get the benefit for a very long time. Essentially, forever.
The science of it is just so fascinating to me. And I mean,
So,
so how did you come up with this idea that you were going to create this thing?
well, it was, as I say, a necessity was the mother of invention in this case, which is often the case. I was in a family garden center business for all of my early professional life, and I was in charge of the nursery department as well as landscape design, build, and a whole bunch of things. You know, if you're in a family business, you wear a bunch of hats.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the guy who was in charge of buying and promoting and selling and displaying and moving plant material, hardy outdoor plant material. And we were in Woodbridge, Ontario, which is northwest corner of Toronto, Vaughan, and growing, like growing community. We didn't lack for customers. It was exploding all around us. So we could sell a lot of things to a lot of folks. But a disturbing number of them would come back dead because in the retail garden center game, you have to warranty what you sell. You can't just sort of wave and say, good luck. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if somebody buys a $300 Japanese maple and it dies, guess what? It comes right back to you. And so this was a measurable loss that the company was suffering. And it took me a long time to sort of wake up to the fact that the technology I was told by vendors that would be helpful, bone meal, chemical fertilizers, check your pH, you know, essentially think about your chemistry problems and you'll solve your problems. It wasn't working. And I just became frustrated with that same old solution that was being offered to me and therefore to my customers to try to abate these losses.
Right.
And I began listening to other voices out there that were saying, you know, it's about soil ecology. There's things going on there you don't understand. There should be things going on there you're not appreciating that are very important. And I realized that although we had all this suburban development around us, just everywhere you look, new developments being put in, it was that very construction process that was destroying the integrity of the soil, especially the living component in the soil. And so it turned out after much investigation and trips out into the world and discussions with PhD scientists and all kinds of things, that sure enough, I could probably change this situation around quite quickly if we found a way to inoculate the roots with the bits of biota that were missing, that had been destroyed in the process of constructing these new homes and cities and towns. And we tried it, got a hold of, it's a very narrow field, as one might imagine. You don't find these kinds of answers or indeed these kinds of inputs on every street corner. It took a lot of digging. So metaphorically. So I got to it and found sources and found allies and got some material to try, got some organisms to try, and began experimenting with them. And lo and behold, it worked. So at which point I knew I had a solution or a likely solution to my problems, but I sat back a little further in my chair and decided maybe I've not only got that, but maybe I've got a business opportunity here.
Right.
And I began working on both issues simultaneously. So I wasn't breaking into the market for the first time with this technology. Premier Biotech had a product called Myke and still does, MYKE, in the market for some time. And in fact, I had tried it and enjoyed some good results with certain plants and others not at all. And that it only whetted my curiosity even more, like, why is it working here but not there? And that's when I learned I had to go deeper into the science to get that answer. And eventually, as I say, put A and B together and came up with the name Root Rescue, the business plan, the blah, blah, blah. And then you just keep digging and shoveling and head in that direction. And eventually, if you're lucky and you work at it and you don't make too many mistakes along the way, maybe you end up coming out the end with a business.
Right. And getting there to that end point is no easy task for anybody who started a business.
Startups are lots of fun. You know, startups are a very risky enterprise, mathematically speaking. The chances are already way against you. So, you better make sure you've checked your math 400 times. As I said in my earlier questionnaire that you asked us to fill out, it was like, be sure of your math. I mean, really, and make sure you look at this thing from as many angles as you can, because you've always got your own bias that you bring to anything. And you have to somehow get rid of that and think of this, put on the black hat as opposed to wearing the white hat, and say, well, what's wrong with this idea? Are you stupid? Like, are you just drinking the Kool-Aid here? And you just got to be sure that you have not made a bunch of assumptions that are just faulty.
Right.
and your timing is good, and you have to make sure a lot of check boxes are really thoroughly checked before you proceed, or else you will end up disappointed. So, and even so, you still have to approach it with the right expectations. I think a lot of people who start a business require that it become an overnight success. Otherwise, their numbers don't work. And okay, good luck. You know,
Yeah.
maybe you'll be the real rainbow business that just lit up the world. But for the rest of us, it takes a little longer. And if you squeeze too hard, you're probably going to crush it before it gets a chance to actually be what it could be. So you have to put the right amount of pressure on the idea too, and not too much, and nurture it. You know, otherwise you will suffer earlier than you should have because you just expected too much too fast.
Well, and I know that that's something that we see a lot in the landscaping profession, is that new people into the profession, you know, they get the brand new truck, they get the brand new equipment, and they put all this money in up front, and they might grow really quickly at the start, but then they hit a wall, right? So that's slow, right, gradual. Let time do its thing and do it right, and learn
every
as you go.
expenditure has to be triple checked. I mean, is this absolutely necessary right now, or is it something that's, you know, only going to give you 10% benefit, but it's costing you an immense amount? And you know, all of that stuff becomes very, very important. It's a calculation of risk every day, and you just want to make sure you haven't overburdened this really good business plan with too much early expectation of success. You need to be able to go through that startup in a logical progression, or you may be disappointed. And it won't be because you had a bad idea, but you just tried to get there too fast, you know, and just the market was never going to be that instantly responsive to you. And I find that's perhaps especially true with this weird tech I'm selling, because almost every new person coming to it says, what is this stuff?
What is it?
You know, what? You know, they're looking at the box and they're looking for 3 numbers, you know, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Where is it a fertilizer? No. Well, then, you know, you're into okay, let's talk about it. So there's a communication piece here, and there's either going to be a good elevator speech or one where you lose people along the way. And so you have to position everything carefully in order to make sure you're not confusing people. And the offer is clear, and as clear as you can make it. And as you know, in the modern world, especially in today's world, attention spans are about like a flea. So you have a few seconds to make an impression one way or the other, for better or for worse. Can't change the rules of the game. They are what they are. So you have to choose things like, I don't know, maybe attractive packaging and things like this, all of which are just designed to get a nice, positive, warm reaction. And then you've got them over the first step. And I think any business has to do that, whether it's your trucks and what you're saying and all the rest of it. I mean, how are you doing that short attention span problem? Like, what's the deal? What's going to break you through, and get that next 3 minutes you want from that person before they even consider your idea?
Right. It's interesting how you mention the importance of communication. And that's another kind of theme that I see repeating when I'm speaking with business owners, is that communication and educating our clients are such a huge part of what we do.
Yeah. I mean, if I was just a different kind of toilet seat, I guess in a way you're starting where everybody knows, because everybody knows what a toilet seat is.
I have not heard that phrase before.
Yeah, you know, but ours is better because, well, at least you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I have the other problem is they don't even know what it is, and then it's why should I want it? And so it's a little deeper trench you have to kind of wade through to come out the other side. But you still have to make that. You have to make that moment happen where they're willing to engage. Right. And that's a battle I don't mind fighting, because I don't know if you can tell or not, I'm a talker. You know, I don't mind repeating the same story over and over again, because I rather enjoy doing it. And
it's easy when you're passionate about your product, right? If you're passionate about it and you believe in it, heck, you're unstoppable.
Well, I hope to be. So, you know, and I don't come from a science background. I came from the industry that I talk to. And this helps a lot for me, because I know what it is to be a garden center owner, for instance. I know what it is to run a landscape business, done all those things, been there, done that. So I've been the guy I'm talking to. So I understand what their concerns are, and the parts of a conversation like this that are going to make them interested in, and other parts that So that makes it easier that my target audience is me. I can echo their response. I can predict what they're going to think. Makes it easier. If I'd chosen a different field entirely, well, I'd be kind of floundering around trying to figure out what people are willing to listen to and what makes them interested and what their concerns are. So whereas I already came grounded with that intel, and that helps a lot, so
it's something we see too with earlier you had mentioned the retail side of things, how you need to warranty these.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, I use the analogy often. I don't know if I've used it on the show before, but it's like a pet store offering a warranty.
I know, like goldfish,
Yeah.
I mean, really? Yes, you do. Even though you're dealing with something that obviously you could kill it without difficulty in the next 20 minutes if you really put your mind to it. But it doesn't matter to the customer. They won't buy it with the confidence that they need unless you just indemnify them against any errors, and okay, I guess we gotta, because that's the transaction. I've been in the business long enough that I remember when plant warranties actually weren't a thing at garden centers, and you just took your chances. But then certain chains of garden centers that started operating in the marketplace were the first to step out over the line and into the daylight and say, we're going to warranty our plants.
And you can't compete with that.
And the whole industry had to follow. I mean, if you were the garden center that didn't, in the customer's mind, that meant, oh, well, you're the guys with the risky plants. Then these guys have got the really good plants because they guarantee them. It was an argument that you couldn't even make. It was like, okay, I guess we're all doing this now. And so it went. And people would, buy a plant late on a Sunday afternoon and forget to plant it, and it bakes in their trunk for 3 days and they bring it back. As a garden center owner, I've seen it all.
Oh, and yeah.
You just grin and, grit your teeth, and there you go. That's the warranty. It's really one of those. It's the price of being in business, and that price just gets added on to the other things that you have to worry about. It's a factor. It's just a risk factor and a liability that's built into the game, and you have to figure out how to weather it. And to that end, I mean, this is why garden centers like my stuff, because if they can sell it to their clients as they're taking the plants out the door, there's far less likelihood that those plants are going to come back on warranty.
Yeah.
And it's a very compelling argument. The math is quite convincing. And it's funny though, I keep waving this little box here, but it's actually these we sell the most of, and this is the commercial sizes, and there's bigger than this. These are for contractors, and they use them when planting landscape sites. And our biggest customers by volume and dollars are actually cities, towns, municipalities, conservation authorities that are planting trees that will get very little or no aftercare. Think of street trees as you're going through new development, and before the builder can get his deposit back from the municipality, he has to put those street trees in. That's his last act, kind of thing. And then all we do is go drive by a year later and count the dead ones. It's really horrific, those losses on those plantings. And I've seen numerous examples and anecdotal people getting back to me and saying, we've reduced those numbers just ridiculously low levels, the failure rates, with the use of this product. So it just becomes a dollars and cents thing, like why you wouldn't do it. It's like a cheap insurance policy. Right. And so,
is that your crabby cat I can hear?
I mentioned him, didn't I?
You did.
He's got an incredible voice. That's Ozzy the cat. Yes,
Ozzy.
He's got things to say. Sure, he can enter the Zoom. Why not?
Yeah. Is he a heavy metal singer, Ozzy?
Yeah, he has a much longer name. He has an official name on a birth certificate, but we got him for like dollars on the pennies on the dollar, because he was out to pasture at that point. He was no longer in the business of making little cats anymore.
Yeah.
And so, he was a rescue. So we think it's probably
look at him.
Yeah, this is Ozzy the cat.
Wow. So he's got Siamese coloring to him.
Yes, he has, but the long hair, that makes him a ragdoll. So it's essentially a long-haired Siamese cat is a ragdoll cat.
Do you know, or do you remember what his long name is? His long official name?
Oh, what Prince something or other. It goes on and on. Yeah, he's got numbers and everything else, but he's just, at this point in time, he's just a crabby old bugger.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but Say hi,
Beautiful
Oz.
cat.
Show them your blue eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, there you are.
Wow, those are
Oh,
really
yeah.
blue.
Yep, yep.
I have well, we did have cats, but they've all passed now. So now we have a toy poodle. That's about the size of my laptop. And
Right.
We have 3 pet rats.
Oh my.
Yeah, I have not brought them on the show yet for
different.
people to see, but they're all girl rats, so they run around like crazy. Oh, is that his birth certificate?
Yeah.
Where does it say? Oh,
Name.
Zen. I couldn't quite make it out.
Name. Oh, Zenzidals, Prince of Ragnesk. Sure. I can't even say it. Yeah. So
yeah, so Ozzy's better.
Ozzy's so much easier. Yeah. Which was all that was reduced to Ozzy. Yeah.
Too funny. I actually had one of our rats we wanted to name strawberry cheesecake Danish, or strawberry cheese Danish the third with whipped cream and bananas or something. It was,
which was shortened to
strudel.
Yeah, there you go, strudel. So this makes sense to me. So now you get where I'm coming from.
I get you where you're coming from. Oh, we love our fur kids, don't we? Our fur babies.
That's it.
So before I move on, I do want to talk a little bit about beer. I understand you don't have one with you because you like it on tap.
Well, yeah, I do like it on tap.
Right?
In fact, I think, and I cannot understand people who go to the tavern, with friends and have a meal and everything else, and then order a can of beer. I mean, really? Yeah. You're in the tavern. Like, they got kegs over there. There's this wonderful thing called a tap.
Yeah.
And, this is what it's just part of the thing, the adventure, the fun. So beer on tap is my thing, and my favorite one is Guinness. Yeah. Not that I'm particular. I just love Guinness, and my next ones would be any IPA that's interesting. But Guinness is my go-to for sure. But on tap with friends at a tavern, like, that's the ideal. So no, I
love that.
No, you'll notice I don't have a tap in the back.
I know. I was wondering.
Never get anything. You like
it on tap?
Done.
It's like, you wouldn't get anything done if there was a tap in there.
Never get anything done. So that's my answer to the question. So unfortunately, I don't have the
one to show
you.
Yep.
But that's the one. And I'm in a band, and we play taverns and places like this. And it's going to be nice.
You're
Absolutely.
In a band? How cool is that?
Oh, sure. Well, you got to have other things in life, right? So yeah,
absolutely.
It's actually a long story, but I used to be in a band before I was married. That's a million years ago, and decided that marriage and the life of working in a bar band was not compatible. So I quit the band all those millions of years ago. And yeah, my wife corrects me and says that was the first time. So
that sounds lovely.
That's all true. Some of us have been around the block a couple of times. Yeah. So anyway, the bass, which is, well, here he is actually. The bass went in the closet for 44 years.
Wait, you play bass?
Yeah, I play bass. So
I have a soft spot for bass. It's the one thing I want to learn.
Well, I
am not a musician.
This is a vintage 1972 Gibson Ripper. So it was in the closet for 44 years. And a couple of summers ago, we were in the backyard of my neighbors, right through that window over there, at a fire. And, Mike gets out his guitar and Jen starts to sing. And Lisa, my wife, jabs me in the ribs and says, "When are you going to get that damn thing out of the closet?" And so I was, therefore inspired and got out and went and bought myself a practice amp and restrung it and put a new bridge on it. Gibson bridges are always shit from then. Excuse my French. So I put a new bridge on it and tuned it up, took it to the guitar doctor. And it's funny. It's like riding a bike. It all came back. So I'm having time of my life. We're just a bar band doing covers, having fun.
That's awesome. And what's the name of your band?
It's called the Rumor Mill. I mean, you're speaking to me on Mill Street North here in Waterdown, and they're my neighbors, lead guitar, singer, right next door. So Mill Street, and we do quite a bit of Fleetwood Mac. So Rumors. So we became the Rumor Mill.
The Rumor Mill.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah. So, as they say, sure, fungus, but you also got to have a little fun. I am the fun guy in maybe a couple of ways.
I see what you did there.
There. You see what I did there?
I did. It was so smooth.
Yeah. Almost like I've done it before.
Yeah. I love that. I'm always saying, you got to find something that feeds the fire. especially
well,
as an entrepreneur.
you need to turn the brain off, right, in order to turn it back on. Otherwise, it just kind of starts running into some ditches. And have something else. And at my age too, I don't know if you put it together for yourself or not, but I'm no spring chicken, and I find it's good for my head to do other things, and that's probably good advice for anybody at any age, but maybe especially for a guy that gets to be my age, is you just need to keep working things and keep your brain going, and learning new things all the time. And of course, a song is a song. You either know it or you don't, and you have to put yourself through it over and over again, and 50, 100 times for every song that we do. You put a 40 song set together. There's a little bit of mental work there, and as well as having some fun doing it. So good for me all around. I'm just lucky, just blind lucky. I mean, how lucky was I to find them? And and so it goes. So sometimes you get a little gift in life, and that's the one I managed to enjoy for the last 2.5 years now.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Have you done community theater at all?
No.
Any acting?
No.
No?
No.
I just have a feeling you'd be good at it.
Well, I've heard about, people recognize my voice somehow, because I've done a lot of recordings of, I developed a landscape design software lots of years ago called Dynascape. And I did all the original training videos. That's when there were training videos for things.
Right.
You used to get a CD-ROM with your binder thick manual, which I also wrote. The first 3 manuals, I wrote them. Anyway, I did those training sessions, which were 40 hours on a CD-ROM. Here's the mouse, and let's start here. And by the end of it, you were doing landscape design on CAD, right? From nothing. Yeah. And I'd run into people at trade shows who would stop me while I'm having a conversation with somebody else and say, I know that voice.
Yeah. Where do I know you from?
Wait, are you radio? No, not radio. No. And it was from those training videos. So apparently it's a recognizable voice.
It is a great voice.
Doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like a voice to me, but
yeah,
apparently it's got certain recognizable qualities to it.
Definitely. I'm wondering if I've heard any of those trainings. I know
maybe if you did Dynascape in recent years, the answer is no, because it's been 15 or more years since I've been involved in that that enterprise. I'm glad to see that child of mine also went on to do well. So that's nice.
And it is an industry norm. I know I use it.
It's become pretty ubiquitous.
Lots of people do. So
So
how do you go about
good to see a child
pat
a child on the head and out the door it goes, and it's good to see it still out there doing well.
Can I ask you about, that's a total segue from what you're doing now with Root Rescue, but how do you go about creating a software? Do you have a background in computers?
Necessity, mother of invention. Again, it's like you find a squeaky wheel, you fix it. So we, after the landscape business, the family garden center business went the way of all things. I began working with a guy, and we provided services for garden centers because I was kind of an expert on what garden centers needed at that point. And we decided that we were going to do landscape design work for these firms that wanted to sell plants and had install sites, but they had no one to draft their plans. Because if you can get a garden center or anyone to show you a garden plan on paper, then you can get kind of over the hump with most clients and then get the job. If it's all just waving of arms and trust me, and over there we'll put some of this and some of that, that works for some folks and maybe they get the jobs. But if you've got that next level of presentation to put down on a table in front of a client and say, now here's how this is all going to work. And so we learned how to do this drafting. Neither of us were actually CAD people, but we learned it. We learned AutoCAD, which was a brain crush, but we got it done. And we provided these services for garden centers, and they would send us measurements and descriptions of what the client wanted. We'd do drawings and send them back, and they'd use them to sell their jobs. So it was working well enough, but we've quickly realized, not unlike the other one, maybe there's a business here. So I knew a guy who was a cousin of wife number one, and ended up talking to a firm in Markham, actually. And it was founded on the premise of a guy who had invented a brand new CAD engine from scratch in his basement. You can imagine this guy in his bathrobe typing away back in the 70s, just making it out of code from scratch. And he was quite proud of this, and why not? And it was very impressive. But it was a little engine that was going to take on the monster, AutoCAD. And anybody would tell you, well, there's an uphill battle. So, but the guy that ended up buying that idea from him, buying his programming, said the better way is to make modules of this and to take the engine and make like maybe a specialty software for street signs or a specialty software for this or for that. And it'll have the engine and the muscle of the CAD underneath and the automated measuring and everything else, but it'll be for a specific purpose. So I got with them and I said, well, I've got an idea. Why don't we do one for landscape design? It's very, very specific. And we worked on the tools and the artwork and everything else. And there was a year of going back and forth with those guys and testing various improvements to the tools, connecting it to estimating, all the things that people would know that Dynascape can do now, or other similar applications can do now, and just getting the kinks out of it. And that's what I did for a year or more, leading up to the first release of that software, and then supported it with videos and, you know, manuals and all the things you do to make it work. So it was really another case of following what appeared to be a need. And because most landscape designers who are on paper, for instance, struggle to make the transition to CAD, which they know has advantages, but they just can't seem to get over the hump. And I sympathize, because it was not easy to learn AutoCAD. Like, it was not, because it's so complex. I mean, you could build, you know, the Empire State Building, you know, or a toilet, you know, I mean, it's everything, all things. And it's too much, right? So what you need is a simplified, stripped down version that gives you excellent, easy to use tools that are directed to the purpose. And that's what we did with his CAD engine. And one thing leads to another. So it was another case of necessity being the mother of invention, seeing an opportunity based on an opportunity. You know, look, there's this thing. So another coincidence, another friend knows a friend. I think the important thing there is take a meeting, you know, keep your eyes open. You never know where you're going to find gold. Some, you know, cousin of a ex-wife and still wants to come out for a beer, and you talk about your problems, and he says, you know, I know a guy. So you just keep your ears open and listen to what people say, you know, actually listen, and then realize some ideas can connect if you just have the antennae up, you know, and you're listening. So that's how that one happened. That's
great. You are almost saying the exact same thing from a previous episode with Michael Albanese.
Oh yeah.
He's a stormwater guy and rain ready gardens. But we were just talking about how so many times you're just talking with somebody and there's just a little gift that they give you.
It.
And if you have those antennas up.
You don't know it, but you just handed me something really good. But if you don't get out there and circulate and just shake people's hands and you know, make eye contact and listen, really listen to people, then you never get those opportunities. They just pass you by.
Oh, man.
So, and not that there isn't like hundreds of them that passed me by, of course there are, but every once in a while you just knock one to the shore and say, okay, this is the one I'm going to chase, you know?
There you go.
There you go.
I did want to ask you about, we still have about 8 minutes-ish, somewhere in there. But anyway,
sure.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface. So you're going to have to come on for a round 2, I think, when you actually have a beer that you can share with me.
That's fine with me, because if you've been around as long as I've been around, guess what? I got stories to tell. So
I bet.
It's just the nature of the beast. If you're this far down the line in your professional career and you've made as many interesting twists and turns as I've made, sure, I'd be delighted if I can be of any use to anybody. That's great.
Absolutely. And I'm so inspired, because as somebody who's, I don't know if you can tell, but I kind of am a spring chicken. So
yes, I had noticed. Yes.
Relatively new to the profession. I've only been around for about almost 15-ish years.
Right.
But when I hear those stories, I learn so much from the experience of others. Right? And the things that you've come up across and that you've faced and you've overcome and you've challenged and you've started and created. It's so inspiring.
Yeah. You have to be able to make problems into, you know, as they say, lemonade out of lemons. You can't, if you're really determined to accomplish a thing, you'll find a way through whatever is put in front of you. For instance, it took a long time to get this product through Ottawa, you know, to get that little number that's at the bottom there from the CFIA. 7 years. So, and at that point, it's like, all right, is it dead now? Like, is this idea dead? Like, get 4 years in, 5 years in, are we done? Because you can't sell it unless you get around those. You can't go around them. Can't go over them, can't go under them. You must go through them. Mm-hmm. So I took that problem and said, okay, so how can I be ready for the market when we finally get busted out, like when I finally get allowed to sell this stuff? And I said, well, one of the key things will be to get third-party verification that it's not snake oil. This is going to be weird tech nobody's seen. Why are they going to believe it's any damn good at all? Right. Just because Bob says so. I mean, really. So I gave the product to the University of Guelph for field testing, and they tested it for 4 years in various circumstances with various species of trees and thousands of. And at the end of it, happily, and you give that to a university, you really don't control what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order for them to be able to get peer-reviewed results at the end, they're just not going to do something nice for Bob. They're going to actually ask a science question. They're going to get a science answer, and hopefully it's the one you like. Yeah. Because they're going to provide all the necessary scrutiny and testing and verification and percentages of blah 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 to get the answer. And it better be the answer you like. And I was happily getting the right answers as time went by. And they produced a peer-reviewed journal article at the end of the process, which was published in December of 2015. Like, it was my Christmas present in 2015 to get this peer-reviewed journal article. And the CFIA registration came through a month later. So that third-party verification from a well-respected horticultural agricultural university was very important for me. So, but it took the time it took, So I said to myself, well, let's make use of this. And yes, there was funding involved, and yes, that's my money and blah, blah, blah. And I needed to get that back one day. That would be nice. And let's say we have by now. So you had to strategic spending, knowing what the market is going to say to you about a thing, having your ducks in a row, as they say. That incredible stall gave me the opportunity to accomplish that and to put those pieces of the puzzle in place, which has served me well, especially with commercial and interests that need that kind of proof. Essentially, they can't buy a thing just because they like the cut of my jib or it sounds good to them. They need to have pieces of paper. They need to have not only certification and all of those things, but they also need third-party endorsements like this to get it through the purchasing process. Otherwise, it's going to die on somebody's desk. So this was an important strategic maneuver, which maybe if it didn't take so damn long to come out the end of the CFIA, I'd be chasing it during the process of trying to sell it. Right. It's not the way it worked, but I'm glad I did it.
Sometimes things happen, and at the time, it really blows.
Yeah, it does.
It's like, oh my gosh, this is going to take 5 to 7 years. This is freaking nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know.
What have I done? What have I put all of my effort into if it's just going to die on somebody's desk in Ottawa? And but
then to have the foresight that it's like, okay, how do I turn these lemons into lemonade? Have right now isn't a lot of money, but I have a lot of time.
Yes, so time. I've got all kinds of. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, what can I do now to make it be ready?
And the truth is, I'm not a scientist. I don't have any letters behind my name. What I have is a lifetime of experience in a particular trade, and maybe I've got an acumen for this or that. But I don't have any. I can't put my own PhD on the line here because I don't have one. Right. So this delay also forced me or compelled me to spend a lot more time with actual scientists and learning what I didn't know. And I spend a lot of time reading science journals about my subject matter now. Like whenever there's peer-reviewed science journals about mycorrhizal fungi and how they're doing and how their usefulness in agriculture, horticulture, and here's the results. I'm reading those things and understanding them. And I want to be deeply steeped in my subject. I don't want to get sideswiped with a question I don't know the answer to. Right. It's not like I got a guy behind me who will answer the question because I don't know the answer. I'm the guy.
It's you.
So,
you're the guy.
I've had to dive into the deep end of that pool and become a kind of citizen scientist, if you will, and that's being generous to me, about this subject matter because it's been required of me in order to be credible and to understand what I'm doing. So that also was a gift of time. I needed that education, which I never took formally. I took it informally during this long waiting process. And so that's been useful too.
So out of curiosity, just talking about a university study, just got me thinking, have there been any studies or application for, like I'm thinking in the area of agriculture, the no-till
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
concept?
Well, and there are institutions, like if you want to learn about that, look up the Rodale Institute, which is in Pennsylvania. It's near Philadelphia. And it's an enterprise that was begun by a guy named, you'll never guess, Rodale, many, many years ago, 50 years ago, perhaps. And they acquired some land that was formerly spent agricultural land, which had been blasted into clay and death by over farming of it. We all know what the outcome is for that kind of industrial scale farming. Eventually it just beats the crap out of soil and it's worthless. Yeah. Well, they took over some of those fields and began growing at the time what sounded a radical new way, which was organically. We're not going to use the synthetic fertilizers and the pesticides. We're going to concentrate on soil life, and we're going to do all these weird things that made sense to him. And they began this and acquired a whole parcel of land and worked on that principle with this badly degraded land for generations now. And their results began to be published 20 and 30 years ago. And they continue to publish, and they continue to look at the long history now of that evolution of that land under their new management practice, which is largely no-till and organic inputs only, and so on, and rotating of crops. There's a whole strategy to recovering soil health and carbon sequestration, as opposed to giving up CO2 from dying organisms in soil, which is what happens when you murder soil. So there's many institutions like that now that will give you not just a short-term view, but a very long lens view of how this works and the benefits, and a deep analysis of how the soil horizon of topsoil, which was, they had like next to no living soil or topsoil on the surface, and it's now 8 to 10 inches deep, and there's exploratory root systems and mycorrhizal fungi going down 4 feet into the soil. They've cut profiles in this formerly useless land, and they also proved, of course, that this is profitable because the market pays more for organic produce of any and every kind. So yes, you have to learn a few new tricks, and you have to unthink a few things you used to think were the right way to do things. But you will do well with this if you can make the choices to change and to learn how to manage things differently. So
more specifically, though, like root rescue, because it's fungi, could that be used in an agricultural application and it would still be organic, right? Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, we're going to run over time
seems
here,
like,
but if you look at our package, and what confounded the CFIA, in fact, was what I brought them in terms of the active ingredients. It's this long list of fungi that's in the product, right?
Yep.
And that essentially broke all the things they'd ever seen come through their office, because heretofore you registered a product with one active ingredient for one purpose, and it was all very linear and very typical thinking. I gave them 18 different active ingredients that did multiple things to multiple plants, and it was going to take time. It was going to take a lot of time. And so you're right. About half of those ingredients will be readily taken up by 90% of agricultural crops. They'll thank you very much for providing them with all of the arbuscular mycorrhiza that are in this formulation. There are other types of mycorrhiza in the formulation that only talk to, for instance, trees and not to tomatoes. And that's why I'm selling this to garden centers who sell everything from soup to nuts. You're going to sell hostas and tomatoes, but you're also going to sell pine trees and cedars and all the rest of it. And every one of those plants has various friends it likes to work with. So they're all in the box. So it is that reason, in fact, that it took so long to get through the regulators, is I confounded them with the density of active ingredients for good reason, the reason I just explained.
Yeah.
But they're not used to this up there. It's like very straightforward. I've got this fungus. I'm going to kill this fungus with this chemical. Okay, fine. Here's your registration.
Yeah.
But don't use it on anything else. And no. Well, these are multi-purpose organisms. They are ubiquitous in healthy nature. they're not ubiquitous in your backyard, and they need to become ubiquitous in your backyard. So that's what we're trying to do here.
Wow. Well, Bob, it's been absolutely amazing being able to just pick your brain. It's so cool. Just like I said earlier, I mean, your experience with Dynascape, you created Root Rescue. You've got lots of stories, and I'm sure I'll be having you back to talk more. So
my pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks again so much for coming on the show, Bob.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye.
That concludes this week's episode, hosted by me, Heather Gerard at My Landscape Artist. Now, before you go, here's some info about our sponsor, ext.tech. In today's fast-paced world, your landscaping business needs modern solutions to keep up with the change. That's where EXT comes in. EXT is revolutionizing the way you manage projects and streamlines your landscaping, snow removal, and construction operations. Instead of juggling 5 different software packages, endless spreadsheets, losing track of leads, and missing out on potential sales, you could be leveraging AI job routing, client management, and financial insights with a modern mobile app that employees love to use. With EXT's flat rate pricing, you'll never be caught off guard. If you're ready to revolutionize and grow your landscaping business, visit ext.tech today to learn more. And for additional savings, use the code HOPS10 at checkout, or just tell them that Heather sent you. See you next week for another episode of Hops and Hedges.